Now let us look at the do's and the don'ts of equity research report writing. So what exactly constitutes an effective report? Number one is that it persuades the client to the deal. So of course you have presented the idea, so your idea should be persuasive enough so that client takes actions. So an effective report must do that. Number two is it delivers a clear investment idea. Obviously the idea should not be ambiguous that client is unable to interpret whatever you are suggesting. So it becomes very important that the idea is absolutely clear and straightforward. Number three is you need to structure your argument as clearly as possible. So as we discussed in the logic of a pyramid, that needs to completely flow so that your client is easily able to interpret and obviously express itself concisely. So you're not writing a novel for sure. You cannot prepare a 200-page report. So you should present your ideas as concisely as possible so that the client can read this in no time. An effective report does not, it does not tell the client simply what happened. So say for example, if there is a news release and I come up with a report just talking about the news release, I don't tell the client as to what are the implications of that news release. Say for example, a merger that was announced, and I just talk about the merger, that the merger happened yesterday and this was the deal value. I don't probably in my report discuss let's say the impact on valuations, whether it was EPS accretive or EPS dilutive or the synergies etc. or the value additions. If I don't do that, it is not an effective report. I must add insights to the report, and that's extremely important. Next is if it gives a definite history of the subject, probably that is not required. You don't have to reiterate what has happened in the past because your client may be educated enough. Or the third one is you should not act as a PR for the company. So you would not like to sell our company every now and then. So you should not be a PR. This report should not actually do that. Okay, so that's the effective report configuration. So before you write, there are a couple of important things that you need to really note. The first and the only one golden rule when you think about writing a research report is your report is not like a Dan Brown novel. What happens in Dan Brown novel is obviously that the story builds up, and at the end of the 200th page you will find that the climax is there, which suggests what is the suspense around it. So the climax is broken at the very last page. However, when you are talking about an equity research report, can I afford to do that? Can I start by building suspense for my client and on the very last page I can put a stamp of buy or sell? No. The golden rule of writing an equity research report is you start with obviously the final idea, whether it is a buy or a sell, and then you flow your structure across as like a pyramid that we have discussed earlier. So do not forget this rule, it's very important. Number two is, as we always hear from other places, you need to keep things simple. So keep it simple, silly. Do not forget the rule. You don't need to complicate too much of things, and the simpler it is for the client to understand, the better it is in terms of the report which you have published. Number three is the timeliness of your report. Obviously, if let's say there is a result that was announced today evening, I must write a report by the end of the day today or by early morning tomorrow, if tomorrow is a working day, and should be able to publish first thing in the morning tomorrow. If I don't do that, say for example, and if I publish this report 1 week hence, do you think that the client will actually care to read the report? Obviously no. The answer is a clear no. They will not read the report because the report is not timely. So you must be sensitive enough to the timeliness of the report that needs to be published. And the fourth point which you need to remember before you start even writing the report is the client is sophisticated professional. So I may not go ahead and explain what is discounted cash flows in the report. Obviously I can assume that my client knows this, and so it has to be to the point, precise, and you can assume that the client is sophisticated and professional.